Hello, my friends. Welcome to the Boring DAO Podcast. For today's episode, we have been sitting down with Juri from the Frens Validator. And Frens has actually been getting a lot of attention lately in the Cosmos ecosystem because they brought a lot of innovation and they're really changing the game. And we wanted to figure out why and what they are exactly doing in today's episode. Further, we've also been talking with them where they are seeing the entire staking business going, why it is so important for the Cosmos ecosystem, and how the validators have a very important role that they are playing in the development and how you all can benefit from that. And then also just a little bit about strategies, how you can stay safe when staking and how you can maximize your benefits and get the best out of your coins. So it was very insightful. I enjoyed it a lot. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Let's get into it. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Boring DAO Podcast. Today I'm sitting here with Juri from the Frens Validator, and from the Boring DAO I have Nirav with me to ask some questions as well. He's also in the validator business with Numenor One, so he was the perfect guy to ask questions with me to Juri. And we're going to talk a little bit about the validator business and where it's heading. But first, before we get into it, Juri, can you quickly introduce yourself? Who are you and who is the Frens Validator?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me. Really excited about this conversation. So yes, I'm Juri. I'm part of the Frens Validator founding team. We are 5 Cosmos friends who decided to set up a couple of validators across multiple Cosmos chains. So we are very Cosmos focused and Cosmos native. And yeah, besides, we also have a media company called DeFi Times, where we also educate our community about different things in Cosmos. And we also organize the Cosmoverse conference. So we are very community driven, I would say. And it's like much fun to basically combine all of these elements.
You have touched a little bit on it already, but maybe we can go a little bit deeper. What do you think differentiates the Frens Validator from other validators in the Cosmos space?
Yeah, I would start by talking about how we basically entered the validator business. So one of our team members reached out to us and they said, "Hey, we want to run a couple of validators across Cosmos chains, and we want that you guys would do the education part and the marketing part more or less, because we basically saw that if you go on, for example, your Kepler wallet and you press on stake, most of the people, they just see a couple of logos and a commission rate, and they do not really care. So if you're like on a validator number 30, for example, most people won't even scroll that far. They take the first validator they see. Some of the validators are a little bit more known, but there's not much community building behind each validator. Some validators were lucky because a couple of whales are delegating to them, and maybe they have some OGs on board, but that's basically it. It was all about like setting up a validator, and if you have like a kind of a cool Twitter account and kind of an expertise, people started to delegating to you. Also, if you were kind of high ranked. But we said that we want to change the game a little bit. We want to be very community driven. That's why we labeled us as friends. We have this spirit also on Twitter, so we do not want to spread like hate or something like that. We always ask the community for their opinion. Also in governance proposals, we ask, what is your opinion? We are all friends, and we are operating across the Cosmos ecosystem together. We are staking together because staking is fun. Staking is also a nice way to get educated about crypto. This is why we also publish videos. This is why we also do side events in different cities. This is why we will also hand out free merch further down the road. That's why we airdrop NFTs just as a thank you, not because they will increase in value, but we will publish an NFT where our users can see a video of me cooking a cheesecake. So it's very community driven. It's just about fun, and we just do like a couple of extra steps. And besides, we also did a diffusion airdrop because we also support projects that build cool tech, because we have a very experienced team. and they help projects with their airdrop. They read the code. They help. We help the project to figure out which address will be eligible for the airdrop, for example. We help with legal connections, how to set up a project that is like legally very legit, things like this. And we also help projects marketing wise. So we are a team in a nutshell that does a strong marketing, is very engaged with the community, and besides we have also the tech experience in order to be able to help other projects in the space.
Awesome, got it.
So, touching on something you mentioned, airdrops for your stakers and things like that. You brought some innovation to the business, and you have, obviously great community and engagement. And you also have the auto compound bot, which I've personally also been using. So, why do you think all this stuff is important to run a successful validator?
I mean, it's as I mentioned, I think the validator business was very boring in the first couple of months. So I think that the staking business really kicked off after IBC got enabled, and back in the day everything was a little bit boring. But I think staking will become so big. I mean, basically staking will become the backbone of DeFi, so tomorrow's financial system in that sense. And I think it's a little bit naive to think like that the staking industry will be like this. So just set up a validator and then you earn the commissions. So it will become more complex. Validators will have to do more. It's like we do it, but I mean, it was inevitable that someone would do it because we want to walk the extra mile more or less. So also the auto compound bot is a very good example. It's like just making staking more comfortable for the people, giving them incentives, because it's, again, very naive to think I set up a validator, I have a nice Twitter account, and then that's it. That's the backbone of DeFi. That's not the case. Also because more institutions are looking into it. Like the competition, I guess, will become very, very intense in the next couple of months and especially years. And now even banks and funds are looking at it. So yeah, I think the business will become more matured, and we have to do more as a validator.
So do you think it will actually be, we're going to move away from, we have a couple of influencers that have their node, we have a couple of Twitter accounts that have their nodes, to like where it is a real serious business with big institutions that run all the nodes and basically dominate the business already? I mean, we can see it already a little bit with like Coinbase, Binance that run huge nodes, but you think that's where we're kind of heading, where it's centralized institutions that have the biggest nodes?
It's interesting that you mentioned this because Binance closed its validator recently, and I had a very interesting conversation with some other validators recently, and it was JK from Stakefish. He said that it's very, very complicated for big centralized institutions to run validators by their own. Also because of these governance proposals. I mean, look at the Juno proposal that is up right now since I don't know how many weeks. How should Binance vote on this? What will the discussion look like internally? Is there like CZ sitting with his colleagues? Okay, how should we vote on governance proposal? Whatever. It's like very complex. What I think is that we just have to do more. We have to be more active with other projects. We have to be more supportive. And I think that there are a lot of projects that do this. And I think that bigger institutions will choose validators which they use. So, for example, Chorus One is a big player, but they are not just the validator. They also build a bridge, for example. They also provide staking as a service, so that you can set up a node, for example, and they take care of the infrastructure. Stakefish is doing something similar. We have an auto compound bot. I think it will become more like Bankwise, where you say, okay, which service provider makes the most sense for me? If I have 10 Osmo, I want to do it for myself. I want to play a little bit around. Okay, Frens Validator is ideal for you. If you want to set up your own validator staking as a service, and you want to distribute it across different validators, you want high expertise, then a huge team like Chorus One is a good choice. So this is, I think, where the staking industry is heading. But it won't be enough to say, I have a Twitter account, guys, you like me, and start staking with us. It's not, I think that won't be the case.
Got it.
Touching on that, you mentioned institutions are going to be coming in and trying to choose validators. How do you guys are starting off your company, obviously not up there with like Citadel One and stuff, but getting there. And you have these things that differentiate yourselves, but do you foresee that, to get some of these bigger stakers to come in, do you need to do some sort of like business development and like form relationships with them? Or do you think the approach you're taking with the community is going to be enough to maybe, get them to delegate to your node?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, actually. So right now we are very, very community driven, as already mentioned. So this is where our focus is right now. But we see how also how the staking business becomes very political. So we have many projects, because if you have a validator, of course, you also have a strong power regarding governance. So we experience that projects reach out to us, oh, please vote on governance proposal X, Y, Z. So I think this is also what basically is like part of what you mentioned. It becomes a part of the game, 100%. But yeah, right now we just focus on the community, and we say, okay, primarily we support good tech, we help where we can, and then we will see how everything will play out, because we also have like a very high level of security for our validators. So our validators are being run across different data centers across the whole globe. We have like a very experienced team, so we can also provide the security for clients that look for this, especially. So we are also an option for this, but our current focus is very community driven and supporting good tech. And yeah, I think also the aspect that funds and bigger clients entering the space is a little bit further down the road. I think some of them are trying to get this Bitcoin thing right now. And but I think it's inevitable that they will also join, and then let's see where we are at this stage.
Yeah, makes sense. You talked about the controversies a little bit about with the governance, but there is another controversy that I think we've seen a lot on Twitter, and that's about airdrops specific to certain stakers or the delegators to a certain node, right? I know you're doing that as well. What would you say? Why is that a legit tactic and not and doesn't endanger decentralization? And why will we see more of that in the future? And how does it help actually the project and the whole ecosystem?
Yeah, I think it's part of what I mentioned, which we have to do more. So we support these projects. And for example, most of the time, so we were not the first one. Like I think Forball was the very first airdrop. I think they did it with the CMDX airdrop was somewhat connected with it, but I'm not too sure about this. But Forball did it also already. So it's kind of like a common thing. The thing is that we also collaborated with Binary Holdings. So I think it's not a harm in terms of decentralization, because we also do an NFT drop very soon together with Binary Holdings again, but also with Stake C2. We will also collaborate more with Correspond. So these validators are coming together. It's not that we are like the Amazon or the Google of the staking business, and we say, okay, everybody's delegating to us because of the airdrops, and we take everything. That's not the case. We collaborate also with validators. So that's in terms of decentralization. In terms of how we help the projects, it's very easy. Like what I mentioned, like if you want to set up your project very legit, then we have someone in our team that can help you with the right persons, where to launch the project, which country is the best. Many validators underestimated this, that they deal with millions of dollars, and that also the tax authorities are kind of interested in that. So yeah, like we help them with that. We also help them with reviewing their code. We do marketing for them. We did it recently with Fetch.ai, so we got a foundation delegation, and we help them a little bit with marketing, with content creation, etc., etc. So we help the projects. And I think many people who are a little bit pissed on it are exactly these kinds of validators that do nothing. Like they provide a very good tech, for the validators, but the users, they can't see it. There's no immediate benefit for other projects or for the broader community. And I think we won't be the last one who did something like this. There will be many, many, many more.
Yeah, I think we definitely see that more and more. It feels like every second airdrop right now is connected to delegating to the right set of validators, which kind of makes the whole thing also interesting. Is like, how do I redelegate my funds? You know, as a delegator, I feel like we're getting to a point where you can actually improve your returns by being active and following all the different validators, what they're doing and with whom they're partnering.
Let me add there. I think it also reminds me a little bit of today when you choose a bank. So you also not go just to one bank. You are comparing, okay, where are the fees higher? Where can I get a credit card easier? Things like this. And I think that's the same thing with Validator. And that's basically the start of the conversation. That was the start of the conversation. We looked at this Kepler wallet list and you didn't see any differences. But now the user says, okay, which validator is actually the service I really need? Do I need airdrops? Do I need security? Do I need a strong community? Do I need education? Do I like them on FMOS because they support the project I really like? Things like this. And then it's about to get very, very interesting.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know, as a delegator myself, the last couple of years, I've seen it's changed so much. When I first started, it was just like, you know, who has the highest stake and it's probably the most secure. But now, you know, everyone has a Twitter. You can see what they're doing, and you can make better decisions, which I think is great as like a delegator. You know, when you started off your business, you know, what are the biggest challenges you had, and like, what are the challenges you're still facing? And how do you choose which projects you want to validate for?
That's a good question. So when we started, of course, it was like kind of hard to basically, like the start is always, I think this was the hardest thing in general because nobody knew us on Twitter. Like this is the challenge. Like now everybody sees how strong the Frens community is. But I mean, we started with 0 followers, and then you have to figure out how to drive attention on a project. So this was kind of challenging in the early days. And also we also had to ask our question, okay, how do we want to be different compared to other validators? So we also had like long internal discussions. So basically, okay, in which direction are we heading? I mean, what the people now see with Frens is the finished product, but basically to set up all these steps, that's the tricky part. And regarding where we set up validators is, I mean, we are very deep into Cosmos. So our team is a team full of cosmonauts. We choose the projects that are the most exciting ones. And we also have the case that many projects are reaching out to us because to say, hey, you have an auto compound, but we want that for our community. And then we say, okay, let's jump on a few calls. And if the project is really something we're very interested in, and most of them, we know them personally from Cosmoverse, from DeFi Times, from the rest of the team. Yeah, this is how we choose it.
Actually, to follow up from here, at this point, you're on almost every major Cosmos chain. You even recently started your Atom node. So what are the future plans? Where are you planning to go from here? Do you want to leave the Cosmos ecosystem and start nodes in other ecosystems, or is there still a lot to do and that you can still achieve within the Cosmos ecosystem itself?
Yeah, we want to focus on Cosmos, and the thing is also that right now we also look for other developers and engineers who help us to build more products. I think it wouldn't make sense to go like to other chains outside of the Cosmos ecosystem. First of all, because I'm super bullish on Cosmos at the moment. We are all very bullish on Cosmos. We love the Cosmos ecosystem. What's about to happen there with Interchain security and IBC is completely enough. And we also have an infrastructure, and the infrastructure needs to be kept alive. It's not like the validators here and va bene, we go home and drink a beer. That's not the case. There's a lot of work involved, a lot of community engagements involved, and you have these governance proposals. We are about to keep our infrastructure and our community alive right now, and we also want to, for example, release ledger support, because that's a huge problem right now. You can use auto compound bot, for example, for Atom, but there's no ledger support because it's very tricky in the Cosmos SDK. We are waiting for an upgrade, and as soon as this upgrade is not launched yet, so we would need to wait for this upgrade in the Cosmos SDK. And we can basically avoid this upgrade by building a product that is built with Go, but nobody in our team is able to program or code in Go. So we are looking for someone, like we are building these projects. That's way more important right now to basically satisfy our community with new cool projects and products.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And so there's a lot to do. And maybe you can get a little bit more into what you actually have to do to keep those nodes up, because I think for a lot of delegators from the outside, it looks like, oh yeah, well, you have that node running, which is probably a server, and then that's in your basement running, and then you chill once it's set up. But that's not the case. So maybe you can tell us a little bit more about the work you're actually doing every day.
Yeah, so actually, the last couple of weeks were pretty intense on the chains we were. So we were on, so the most intense one were Civ Chain and Juno. So as we mentioned, everybody knew that the network on Juno was down. I mean, we validators, we have to participate in these upgrades. So like one of our team members was like sitting on Sunday night and on Saturday night for a Civ Chain upgrade, like waiting in the Discord groups for the next advice from the foundation, and try to upgrade the network with the other validators. Same thing was with FMOS. We experienced a huge FMOS drama, and also again we were sitting there like for a couple of hours on a weekend, very rushed, and and our tech team tried to upgrade the network again with the rest of the other validators. So this is what the people don't see, because if the network is down, it's not only the foundation that works on it, but also all the validators. And you also have to be active regarding like general and common upgrades in the Discord groups and things like this. So there's a lot of work involved that needs to be done in order to keep your validator alive. And then the other thing is like, what is your opinion as a validator on controversial governance proposals like the Juno governance proposal? How will you communicate this with the community? Things like this. So there's a lot of work involved actually. And regarding the servers, again, we are not having them in our basement. Don't worry, that would be way too risky. We have them set up across the globe in different data centers, also on different continents, to ensure that it's like very safe.
Okay, makes sense.
Say I'm a new user to the Cosmos ecosystem. I'm looking to delegate some coins somewhere. What are tips you would give this person on choosing the right validator to stake to? Like, what are some go-to tips?
So first thing, I would highly recommend to go on YouTube and check out Confident in Crypto. He's a good friend of mine. He does a lot of tutorials, because what I experienced when I told my friends, oh yeah, just do staking, they asked questions I was like not even thinking about anymore. Like, oh, what is a commission, and how can I redelegate, and things like this. I was like, what are you talking about? I mean, a commission is a commission, and you can redelegate it. So they are very, very simple questions that we do not have in our minds anymore, but these questions need to be answered. So I would highly recommend watching YouTube tutorials before starting this, and then be also very active on Twitter. Follow these validators that are interesting, and I think that's the best way to go. And also read some articles about staking in general, because if you do not understand the normal and general terms, it's like impossible to differentiate between different validators. So I think that would be the best advice I could give.
Do you think we need something that when I'm on Kepler scrolling through the validators, I can see maybe the Twitter accounts or a little bio of those validators, or maybe even a security score, something that tells me how much out time that validator had or if he was slashed? Because I have zero information, and as a newbie that maybe is not on Twitter, you'll not find those validators. So you're stuck in, yeah, I'll just delegate with the top 5 ones because they're like probably secure.
Yeah, I think that's a very good idea, and I think it's also coming. So right now, I think that's the case on Fetch, where also the website is linked. But of course, not everybody validator also has a website. But I think that's something that will inevitably be available in a couple of months or in a year from now. I also know that also Kepler works a lot on their user experience right now. So I think this will become a part of it. So I think like user experience in general will change significantly, and I think this aspect you mentioned is a tiny part of it.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something we all have to work together in the Cosmos space, or in the crypto space in general, to just make it easier for non-tech natives. I'm always thinking like my dad, he would not manage to stake coins on Kepler, you know.
Yeah, like a very good example. I was in a Twitter space with Fetch when we launched our validator there, and there's like one very simple question that arose, and for me it was like I didn't know where the problem was in the first place, because the interest rate, so the staking rewards on Fetch are right now I think like at 3 or 4%, but most validators charge a commission of 5%. So some people thought you basically lose money when you do staking because the commission was higher than the staking rewards. So we need like FAQ sections, cool things like this, maybe also simply explained videos, something like this.
Makes sense.
When you see a list of validators on, Kepler, they're ranked by amount, delegations that they have. In 2, 3, 4, 5 years, do you see that being more spread out? And I ask because, we all understand the importance of decentralization, but maybe the average, user does not, and they'll just like stick their coins into one node, and it's probably a top node. Do you foresee that changing? Do you see like the coins more spread out throughout the validator set, or do you think it's still gonna, accumulate to the top?
Yeah, I think it will become more decentralized inevitably. First of all, because we get more users, and then I think the combination of what, for example, Lucas just mentioned, that we also have like a better user experience where things are better explained, then also the new users will ask new questions in that sense. So that's the first thing. Also, the other thing is if also a whale, they do not want to stake just with one validator because it's a risk. So never put all your eggs in one basket. So also the people will be like recommended to stake with different validators. I think that's another aspect that drives this change. And the other thing is it's also not good for a foundation. If a foundation says we are delegating to 2 or 3 very big validators and that's it, then people will complain about the decentralization of this network. And then they have also the problem that also funds or like VCs say, hey, there might be a cool project on project XYZ, but look, this infrastructure, like the whole layer 1 we're talking about here, is super centralized. We're not investing money here. So the foundation itself has an incentive to promote decentralization, to support validators, to join the network that do good things, and also delegate to them so that they help with decentralization. So yes, I'm convinced that we will see more decentralization because it's just healthy for every project, like for everyone who is participating there. Because even though if you're the biggest one, you don't want to be the biggest validator on a ghost chain. I mean, it's also not good for you.
Yeah, makes sense. Do you think it will be like the foundation of the project that you are validating for that will then go through the list and be like, oh, those 20 validators are very long. Let's stake with them so we can push them up higher and like spread the coins out?
I think they will also ask new validators, like what we experienced with Fetch. They're looking how you're a cool validator, you are doing cool stuff on Osmosis. Would you be interested in joining our new layer one? Here, we also support this with a foundation delegation. I think this is how the game will be played. I think that's in that sense the future, that the foundations are very interested in decentralization because it's just healthy for their own project.
Yeah, and even it's regulatory necessary. I mean, we can see it especially in the US, right, where chains that are too centralized, they can't even be listed on Binance US, on Coinbase and stuff, because there would be securities then, right? So
and also with the infrastructure bill, for example, because I had a very interesting conversation actually last night with a lawyer, and he described it also very well, because who is, if I interact with DeFi right now, or if I interact with a staking provider on a chain, who is responsible for the money? And if you have 2 or 3 very big validators, then the regulators might go after you, because then they say, hey, you are acting like a bank, for example. You have to get KYC'd, or you have to KYC your users. So these validators, they also don't want to become too big and too decentralized, because then they have to face problems that nobody wants to face in this industry. And this is like regulation.
Do you think in general something like this will happen, that the validator business gets much more regulated, and you might have to take KYC or stuff like that? What do you foresee there in the regulatory front?
Oh, very, very complicated question, because I think we see the first signs with the unhosted wallet drama that is taking place in Europe at the moment. My fear is just that most of the regulators, if you follow these discussions, they are not very educated about crypto and DeFi. If you listen to what they say, you say, oh, please do yourself a favor, go, I don't know, watch 2 BitBoy crypto videos, and you're very, very well educated compared to now. So, that's a fear that I actually have, that we see this over-regulation. I think generally we will have to align more with law, and it's also important to have like certainty for you as a developer, or for any project to build cool tech, because you don't want to set up an infrastructure without even knowing what's going to happen further down the road regarding regulation. So we need good laws, but certainty, and not over-regulation. I think that would be so that's the only thing I would fear right now, is over-regulation and stupid regulation, because people decide things they do not even know about what these things are all about.
Yeah, makes sense.
You're providing an important service to some of these projects with security and decentralization, but you're kind of also running a business at the same time. So how do you balance those two? You obviously have to be profitable to keep running, but you also want to provide good services, which, might not be as profitable, like IBC relayers, right? That's like a big thing. It is costly to provide that service, and you really don't get compensated for it yet. So how do you guys think about stuff like that?
Well, the big advantage of staking is that a lot of work is involved, like regarding keeping everything up, but it's not too expensive. So it's attractive for us also to to kick off developments that may be very costly, but because like keeping up the whole infrastructure itself is not very costly, it doesn't affect us that much. So I don't see like a problem here. I think the bigger challenge here is that you have like a very good and strong team. So validators are about to be like are becoming companies. So I realize it when I look at my own business, like a Frens Validator, we are trying to get more people involved. Our people our partners need support with the tech, with keeping everything alive. So this is a challenge. The challenge right now is to find good and educated people that are able to deal with the Cosmos SDK, to deal with the tooling. I think it's not a question of money, because crypto treated us all very well. But it's a problem of finding the good people you can work with, and that can really provide value to you.
With the Tendermint consensus algorithm, there is like a limitation on the validators right now. How do you see that expanding in the upcoming years with upgrades to the SDK on also like Tendermint Ignite now? Sorry, but
Yeah, I saw this discussion. If you were talking about Bankless, this was I saw some criticism from East Maxis. Well, I think it might be, but I also see a little bit critical to start do something on the consensus algorithm right now. I think we have like very important developments around the corner. I think it wouldn't be too smart to start like changing the consensus algorithm at this stage, because we also have to deal with Interchain security. We have to bring IBC to the masses. So there's a lot of things to be done. I wouldn't focus on the security on the consensus algorithm right now, also because the vision of Cosmos is much different. Like, it's the internet of blockchains. It's not about deploying all the dApps on Cosmos and say that's it. No, it's about to create many uncountable chains, and therefore I don't see a reason right now to change it, because I think most people that argue this, that the Tendermint consensus algorithm is not decentralized enough, do not get the vision of it. So that's my point in this discussion. Maybe, I mean, it would be cool to have more validators, 100%, but I think this shouldn't be the priority right now.
how do you foresee interchain security being adopted? Have you heard any new projects coming up that are interested in a service like this on Cosmos?
Yeah, it's actually a project I'm a big fan of. It's Quicksilver. They've launched with Interchain security, and further down the road, they also want to do adopt layered security. So for the listeners who don't know about it, so Interchain security is the goal of Interchain security is more or less that you take advantage of the security of the Cosmos Hub. But there's the possibility. I had a very interesting conversation with Billy Rennekamp very recently, and the goal is more or less to also set up parameters so that you as a project can choose, okay, I want to have my chain secured, let's say, by 5% of the Cosmos Hub, or by 10%, or by 20%, or I'm a very young project, I don't want to focus on security too much, let's do 80 or 90%. And this is very exciting. So Interchain security is the thing I'm most bullish on in the Cosmos ecosystem, if you want to say it like this. And the first project that will launch with Interchain security is also a very exciting project. It's a liquid staking protocol called Quicksilver. It came out of Chorus One. Very cool team, a team with a very high expertise. They really know what they are doing. So yeah, I don't see any critical aspects about Interchain security at this stage, because also you see the adoption of legit and big and good projects.
How do you foresee that it will be used? Do you think there will be chains that will use interchain security basically forever? Or is it more a thing when they're small, they're using interchain security, and then later on they transition into having their own set of validators?
I think the future will be diverse. I think we will see both things. So if I want to have like a very use case specific blockchain, I don't have an example right now for it, but let's say you're a project that basically just use blockchain as a nice backbone, but you don't want to deal with the blockchain too much. Interchain security, perfect for you. If you want to basically just start with it, or you want to have a security layer, perfect. I think that it's also very attractive for every project, like even the big ones like Juno, like Osmosis. I mean, it's a hedge for a worst case scenario, for a very like worst case scenario, to have the chain secured by, let's say, 5%. I mean, this is how you ensure that if everything goes wrong, you are still alive, you still live, your project is alive. And I think this is very attractive for many projects. So I think we will see both.
Yeah, makes sense.
I agree. I mean, like we talked about earlier with the consensus algorithm having a limited validator set, this basically expands your security without having to add more validators.
Again, please, you wait on for a second.
Sorry. Yeah, this basically expands your security. If you're like Juno and you want additional security, you can adopt interchain staking.
Yeah, it makes totally sense from that perspective. But yeah, that's the biggest reason why I'm so bullish on interchain security. right now. And I think it's also the biggest development in Cosmos at this stage.
Yeah, and something that makes the whole ecosystem very unique, among others. But definitely. So I don't know, Nirav, do you have any more questions for Juri that you would like to ask? All right. So then I would say we can wrap it up here. Just Juri, where can people find you, and especially Frens Validator? You talked about it already, Twitter, but maybe give us your social links and stuff real quick.
Yeah, so you can follow Frens Validator on Twitter. I think that's a good point to start. And if you want to get like a lot of information and want to get more educated about the space, follow DeFi Times on YouTube, for example, or podcast. We publish tutorials, things like this, just DeFi Times on YouTube. And if you want to follow me, I'm Juri Maibaum on Twitter. So yeah, there are a lot of ways. But I think Frens Validator and DeFi Times is the best way to start.
Awesome. So then, thank you so much for being on, Juri. It was a pleasure talking to you. Very, very interesting discussion. So thank you so much. And also thank you, Nirav, for joining with some very interesting questions, which definitely I wouldn't have asked because I am not deep enough in the validator business. So it was a very welcome addition. Thank you as well.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. It really means a lot to us to have you tuning into this show. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to smash up that like button and subscribe to our channel. Would also mean a lot to us. Thank you so much for that. And we talk to you next time again. Peace out.